Good evening and welcome to the Kim B. Davis Show. I'm your host, Kim B. Davis, and this evening we have one of our favorite guests with us. We have Mr. Eric Harp, our certified professional fitness trainer and educator. Good evening, Mr. Harp. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much for having me once again, Mrs. Davis.
No problem.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. So, we have to start with our current events, and there is so much to talk about. So let's start off with January 6th. We are still in denial, yet we've heard testimony from Cassidy Hutchinson. We've heard testimony from the former Oath Keeper and Proud Boys. I don't know if you got a chance to watch that. I was like, really? Wow. Get us up to speed, Mr. Hurt.
Well, we're almost at the end. We have one more hearing to go. But what we have in the meantime, from everything that you were saying, let me backtrack. Mm-hmm. So the hearings are now focused on what Trump knew, what he didn't know. Mm-hmm. The people around him told him that he lost the election, and he still went ahead with swearing that the election was stolen.
Yes.
People around him told him, his most trusted allies told him that he lost the election. Still, he didn't believe it. Mm-hmm. So then another set of people came in to give him alternate plans. Now, these alternate plans were to bring in fake electors, to try to claim that machines were defective and send in the military to go and get these machines. So Trump was advised by a whole bunch of different people. So they all had to come in and speak on it, and then you had to have one person refute the next one. One of the most damaging parts of the testimony was about the January 6th rally that was held before the actual storming of the Capitol, in which the Secret Service told them that there were armed people, and that Trump was like, so let them in, knowing that they were armed, and then sent them on over to the Capitol. Now, the January 6th hearings have also unleashed that prior to that action, there were a series of tweets and coded messages and riling up of the ranks in order to get those armed people there at the rally to go over to the Capitol. So that's what the hearings have all unraveled, this little thing. Mm-hmm. And then we hear about how after all of the rally, he tried to get over to the Capitol, but the Secret Service wouldn't let him. And then we heard from a source within the White House, mm-hmm. most valuable source.
Yes.
To find out. She gets information. People come to her in her official capacity because she is the assistant to the president. Mm-hmm. And so she gets all of the things in her ear. And so she was able to speak on it. And a lot of things were verified. Some mm-hmm. things people were wondering, mm-hmm. that we verified. Mm-hmm. And her speaking about Trump having a hissy fit and attacking his driver mm-hmm. Seemed to make big news, and then you hear a lot of hoopla about, nah, that didn't happen, that couldn't happen. And so they went through a whole lot of trouble to make sure that someone said it didn't happen, so they can hurry up mm-hmm. before someone said it did happen. Mm-hmm. And now those text messages have mysteriously disappeared.
Yes, they have.
We call it a routine changing of phones. Mm-hmm. We switched from one plan to the other plan, and we wiped all the messages. Mm-hmm. Typical that would come out right now. But as we speak, there are other people that have been subpoenaed. There are other people that have been coming in on their own to testify. So as we speak, today is Tuesday. I forget the date. I believe it's the 18th.
Mm-hmm.
The 18th of July. The hearings will be shown on the 20th.
Yes.
So 2 days from the time that we're speaking right now,
Mm-hmm.
then the hearings will wrap up. And I'm anxious to see if there's anyone that will have verified Cassidy Hutchinson's explosive information.
Very much so. And, you brought up a great point. So President Trump is accused of wrestling with his Secret Service driver specifically. It has been said that when you said this, that there are armed people there. And he said, so let them in. He said, they won't hurt me.
They're not here for me.
They're not here for me. And, I still go back to, we have a gallows placed outside the White House. And so outside of the people's house. And so for people to negate that or try to minimize it, like, oh, that's not what you thought. Well, what is a gallows for? A gallows is to hang people.
It hurt me. Not.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as they're not here to hurt, here it goes.
Exactly. So you're right. There's a lot. There has been some discussion that there has been some interference with President Trump actually reaching out to potential witnesses who are coming forward on the January 6th committee. Cassidy Hutchinson, I find it interesting that she changed attorneys. So, I have my own thoughts. I think she was like, oh no, I'm not going down. I'm not taking anybody's rap. I'm going to come forward and tell what happened and protect myself. Yes, I do believe it's admirable that she came forward. I don't necessarily believe that she just did it just for the good of the country. And that's the cynical side of me.
And though you may be right, I'm not vested enough in what her inclinations would be, as long as she come out and say what she needed to say.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So as long as she come out and said what she needed to say, then I'll take it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as long as it's verified.
Right.
Now, it's explosive information. It's information that anybody would love to hear, but as long as it can be verified.
Mm-hmm. And there were some pointed questions that they asked her several times to confirm, like, about the conversation with the Secret Service driver. And I said, this is funny because attorneys never ask a question unless they already know the answer to it. They already have evidence. And so I'm wondering if either somebody does have a copy of those text messages, because text messages don't just go away. No matter if you change phone plans or another phone or whatever, there's always a copy someplace, or someone has seen them and they can talk about it because they've seen them firsthand. Now, I don't know if that would be considered hearsay because, it's after the text message has been sent and they're just looking at it. However, the things that we've heard are so explosive. And, for everyone who said they elected Donald Trump as president, oh, this is the end of democracy. Now we know everything that people were saying is absolutely true.
Well, still, it's unfortunate because you and I, we can throw the word woke around, know exactly what it means. It means just look out, be alert, keep your head up, your eyes open, But somehow, as always, the word has now become lexicon. It's now going to get a definition in the dictionary, not just the urban dictionary, but it'll now go into the dictionary under some idealism, leftist idealism that is against the government in some kind of way, that then turn this word woke into something else. And so now, to be woke, you got to really, really understand what's going on, because you got to be between the lines. And, you know, look over there while something's happening over here. And of course, we love to blame the media. It's always the media's fault. It's always the media's fault. Now, switch gears for just a moment. We've got a lot of tragedies going on.
We do.
A lot of gun violence that we've dealt on in other episodes, which is continuing. You know, as we speak, we have had multiple shootings just this week in Indiana Mall. It just doesn't stop. But here we are, climate change.
Yes.
This is what I really wanted to bring on.
Yes, please, because it's on my list.
I brought my towel out just for a moment. I'm sitting in the air conditioning and all, and it's blistering. Where I'm at, 94 degrees outside. Now, compared to some people down south, hey, I got a cool day. Because it is 7, it's 108. Over on the west, they don't have humidity like we have humidity. So our 94 degrees feels like 134 degrees.
How about in Europe? In Europe, they said there are certain places that are getting 107, like in England, 107.
Forgive my my extended United States speech. That's where I'm going with it. I'll spend a little time in Europe, you know, not too much, but a little bit. And it's chilly. It's chilly. I don't like being chilly, but it's chilly. You know, 60 degrees all the time is not my idea. You know, but now they're experiencing 90 degrees, 100-degree weather that they've never, I won't say never.
Right.
They're older than we are. As the current record taking or record keeping, they have not experienced this kind of weather. Now, our California wildfires happen every season. They have wildfire season. But over there in Spain and Italy and lots of countries where we depend on a lot of their agriculture as well, burning up. Burning up. And these 100, you know, I don't understand why to say the words climate change becomes such taboo.
Yes.
No, climate change, all this emissions and carbon that we are emitted up into the ozone. And then it's just going to come right back down and burn us up. I remember years ago, there was acid rain.
Yes.
All these chemicals going up in the air made acid rain. Here we are 30 years later, and we still tripping on it because these lobbyists, the gun lobby, the environmentalist lobby, you know, and we're not talking environmental like Smokey the Bear.
Right.
We're talking oil companies,
all
the plastics companies, all of the companies that pollute the air, you know, and are struggling for the regulations, and our congressmen for regulations and easing up on the taxes and commissions and the regulation, you know, ease up on all the restrictions. It's just killing us. You know, our younger generation will have nothing left. You know, our beaches are horrible. Our water temperatures are horrible. It's
We're killing off reef systems.
That's my rant that I wanted to go on to, but that's killing me because it's so hot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When we've had hot temperatures before, air conditioners for those of us that have air conditioners.
Mm-hmm.
Shotgun houses for those that go through the shotgun houses. Hopefully there's some breeze and some wind that'll come through. But it's also going to increase that hurricane season because
yes,
when that hot air meets that changing currents down there in the Caribbean,
mm-hmm.
what we're looking at is hurricane season.
Mm-hmm.
It's really gonna affect what's gonna go on around this planet, and it's not a good cycle.
You're right. It's not. I mean, we're killing off our reef systems in our oceans, which are killing the fish in the oceans. And so, I'm a big fan of sharks and I love Shark Week. And one of the things that they talk about in Shark Week is that your fish have changed where they migrate. So you have shark attacks, not just because people will say, oh, well, you're in the ocean. Of course, you're going to have a shark attack. But where people and sharks are usually two different areas. Sharks are typically afraid to go around people. However, if the fish, the food that they're eating is migrating closer to shore, because that's where their food source is, then of course the sharks are going to follow. Thereby, you're going to have more shark attacks. And you have different places around the world that have become hotspots for it. And people are, blaming the sharks, saying, oh, it's the shark's fault. No, this part of this is human behavior. And unfortunately, we have beaches, beautiful beaches around the world. We have oceans, we have lakes and rivers. And everywhere where there's water, there's a threat. So even if you say, okay, well, I'm just going to go to the lake. Well, guess what? There are different types of fish that can be considered invasive in a lake that can destroy that fish population or destroy the ecosystem in that lake. The same thing happens in the river. And Mr. Harp, from living in the Midwest, Michigan, home of the 5 Great Lakes, we are the Great Lakes state. So we have water. One of the things that happens in Michigan every year, we hear about certain invasive species. Just a few days ago, I don't even want to say it was a week ago, there was an alligator spotted at a nature preserve or nature museum up in Lansing, which is our state's capital. And people said, there's alligators can live in the water. And of course, you can go through every horror movie. But the thing about it is alligators can live anywhere. They don't prefer to live in the cold. It is too cold in the Midwest. However, as long as their snouts don't freeze, they can live anywhere. I thought, oh, that's scary.
Well, watch your feet. Better watch your feet down in Belle Isle.
And for those that don't know, Belle Isle is Detroit's jewel. It is an island. Well, it's a peninsula, but it is what we consider our island. And it is in the middle of the Detroit River. And it is a beautiful natural park. And there's trees, there's nature, there's grass, there's lots and lots of water. So people fish, people bike, people walk, people just go and sit by the water. It's a beautiful place. But again, Mr. Harp, as you just said, watch your feet. You don't know what's in the water. And all of this aligns with what's happening with climate change. The movement of the water, when we talk about currents, when we talk about the directions, and I forget, it's not nor'easter. What's that big current that they talk about that controls all of the different oceans. And when it's off, that's when our weather is off. And I can't think of the name of it. But is
it that tide that the sea turtles had to get on?
Yes. So, all of these things are important because many communities and nations rely on oceans to provide fish for food. And even when we in the United States think about seafood, we think, oh, well, we can just order it. Well, where does it come from? Because on the East Coast, they're struggling with lobster and crab, right?
I'm sorry, I had to laugh. Say, seafood, where does it come from?
Right. Well, when you go to a seafood restaurant, Mr. Harp, and they take you to the tank and they say, here, pick out whatever one you want, or you just look at the menu and lobster, mark your rate, and you're like, I'll have a lobster for dinner, and they bring you a lobster. You don't think about, are we overfishing lobsters? Are lobsters facing problems in terms of environment? Are they struggling? Because we're hearing from a lot of fishermen that they are struggling to catch the normal amounts of whatever they would consider to be normal because of climate change.
Our whole ecosystem is changing. Just like that. If the fish are moving on, then they're not going to be in the same spot that the fishermen normally would get them.
Exactly.
That the sharks are going to move on and go get them where they need to go. And if the sharks are there, then there's other predators, because see, the sharks are not the top of the food chain. And so what happens is the whole ecosystem changes, which, as say with our humans, we travel, we migrate, we do things, which now I want to come to the border.
Let's talk about it.
See how I made that little transition right there? So now we're talking about the border. Now, in previous episodes, we talked about how our media is complaining because we get Cubans mixed in with the El Salvadorians. We get Jamaicans mixed in with the Mexican cartels. It's like, how are we doing this? So, then they're showing pictures, this overhead picture of all of the migrants that are coming in. Now, if you watch it long enough, those are the same pictures they just showed you last week. So,
Exactly.
These fresh pictures are fresh. I look up in the corner up there where it says March 30th. It's like already. But we're just getting so ridiculous. There's no supplies anywhere. If America is the land of land of plenty, if we don't have supplies, then what you think is happening in Guatemala?
Exactly.
If there's absolutely nothing in Guatemala, would you take that chance? And so this lack of humanity, it's lack of humanity, and it's not just, the racist part of it, but it's the humanity. These people just traveled hundreds of miles. Some may have gotten rides here or there. Some may have got hitchhiked some here or there. But of course, a certain part of our media want to chop all of this up to human smuggling, human trafficking. But you get some people who've walked, traveled hundreds of miles in this heat. You ain't gonna give them water, shelter, food, gear that they're gonna go and assimilate and become a voting bloc.
Exactly. Just like in voting, we don't want to give people water while they're standing in long lines to vote. We don't want to make it easy. We don't want to make it convenient. We're trying to stop everyone who we don't believe should be voting from voting. Yet, President Biden has a low approval rating because everybody is upset with him. And they're like, oh, it's terrible. The country's not going the way that it should. And I have to ask, but do you understand that the president didn't have any control of the war with Russia, Ukraine, and Russia? He had no control over that. Do you understand that the president had no control over gas prices? That's oil companies. We talked about them already, making billions of dollars right now. You talk about supply chains. You had Governor Abbott, the governor of Texas, shut down the border and not allow supplies to come through because he wanted to send a message. But that's not.
That was a $30 million message, wasn't it?
It sure was, and we're paying for it right now. Milk is up, eggs are up, bread is up, staples, utilities are up. People are struggling. In Michigan yesterday, in Detroit, some person decided they were going to give out free gas, $40, I believe, to the first 400 people. They said over 1,000 people showed up. 1,000 people, because people are struggling.
Now, while they're struggling, while we sit here struggling, we got to make news about a fist bump. Now, I looked at that footage. Okay. It's sad it's very sad. It's tragic that one of our journalists was ordered to be killed by the leader of that country. However, these leaders have to meet. They got to do it. You know, I know a lot of people don't understand. You know, you got to do all of this. You got to put that face on, and you got to go meet. You got to shake hands when you say hello. Today it's that fist bump. A whole lot of cameras. And we walk in and we gonna handle business.
That's right.
Now we done made a certain amount of us have made so much out of the fist bump. Who cares about the business? And so, I take these approval ratings and these polls with a grain of salt, because who are they asking? Ask 200 people. Listen, I did one of those jobs before, quick little hustles, little service job, walking. Have you seen this movie? What would you think about it? What you this? What you that? What you this? And we create polls. We do market research. But what are they doing? Walking around a mall, walking around Texas State Fair? Well, they're not really coming into any place because, oh, God forbid, we come into an inner city where there's a shooting every 5 minutes.
Right.
But I don't even want to go into that. The questionnaires, the polling, approval ratings. The country was on downslide. Years before listen, I'm gonna say years before Trump was out. He didn't hold it together, and then all of a sudden Joe Biden just came in and just let everything fall.
Right.
That's what the perception is. But there were certain things that were never right, and weren't going to be right for the foreseeable future. But again, we're back onto this cult of personality where everything that this man did was talking tax plans, border plans, energy independence. What's that?
Right.
Better get you some solar panels. Independent. Cut your cable.
That's right. That's right.
I don't understand what this energy independent. As long as I got a DTE bill, I am not energy independent.
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
Davis, I'm sorry I'm going on a rant, but this is one of those things where I know I haven't even talked about my man who's got shot 45 times. That seems to be another recurring theme of our episodes. But the police shot an unarmed man, Jalen. 45 times. What could you possibly do? What could you be running from? And how is that not a Uzi?
Right. Right. Mm-hmm.
So 45 times, you looking at 9 shots out of each revolver. That's what a few people just standing there bucking at this guy.
Mm-hmm.
That hit. We talking that hit him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It is. And unfortunately, we keep talking a lot of the same threads. There's still mass shootings. You mentioned Indiana. You know, that was just a few days ago. And the headline was a good Samaritan with a gun shot and killed that person. So America is very much becoming the violent Wild West that many of us don't want. And when our local politicians and elected leaders push back, lobbyists come in and pour in money and influence. And typically the citizens' vote or concern is usually overlooked. And we don't really have any change. You know, I forget where it is. I want to say it's someplace in upstate New York where they are allowing you to just go and just go get a gun. You don't even have to go through the licensing process. You don't have to conceal a weapon. And the last
it's
thing,
not Buffalo. I know it's not in Buffalo.
It's not Buffalo, but so now, and we got to get to our main topic, but the last thing I want to mention, so you talked about the gentleman who was shot 45 times. I don't know if you saw the one where the nurse, it's in New York, it's in Rochester. She was an EMT, or she is an EMT, excuse me. And she pulled into the ambulance bay of a hospital where the ambulances pull in. Apparently, there was a police car parked in an area where only ambulances should be. When this particular ambulance pulled up, and this woman who was an EMT dressed in uniform opened the door, it hit the police car. The police officer, the door hit the police car that was sitting there. The police officer proceeded to get out of the car and asked this woman for her identification. And she said, I have a patient. I'm going into the hospital. This police officer arrested her while the patient is sitting there or laying there on a gurney. I said the patient should sue that police officer and that police department and that city, and the EMT who this happened to should also. Yes, she was Black and he was white. We don't like to say that it's just about race, but when we talk about a gentleman being shot 45 times, oftentimes we like to say this in America. If the shooter lived, he was white. And you can look in Buffalo. You can look in, help me out, Mr. Harp. There's a few other places. There's Dillon Roof, where they are simply walked out. If you are
Sandy Hook.
Yes, Sandy Hook. If you are killed, then we know that you are of color. You're Black, usually. And I don't know what it is here in America. I know from studying African studies and Black history that many police officers will tell you and say, well, we don't train based on color. But there was a local police department here, I believe it was Farmington Hills, that was accused because a local Boy Scout took a tour and saw pictures.
The target range.
Yes. And the police chief had to come out and apologize and say, this is on me. We are not training people. And there was a very poised and powerful man that stood up. And when I say powerful, I don't mean that he was a somebody with a name. He was a veteran. He had served his country, our country, and he had done a service. And he said, I served in the military for however many years. He was a retired veteran. And he said, when you are trained to shoot a gun, you are trained to shoot the enemy. not a color. And I thought, ooh, that's powerful, because it talks about in this country who is the enemy
Who is the enemy?
and who is not. And so, Mr. Harp, I want us to put a pin in it.
I just got woke real quick.
Go ahead. And then we got to talk about joy in fitness.
I just got woke real quick. That was, I mean, you know, when you put it that way, when you put it in that way, because, you know, the existential question is why?
Right.
Why? Why? He was unarmed. He was unarmed. When you put it in that way, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
And we have lots of cases, so we'll have to go back to that.
We'll come back to that in the future.
Yes.
Let's get on to the main meat today.
So all the things that we talked about, Mr. Harp, you know, if we didn't have fitness, if we didn't have exercise, we didn't have positive thinking, we couldn't have the joy in our lives that we have. And for those that are listening, it is hard to talk about it, especially as an American, but you're still supposed to have hope, and we have hope that things will get better. We just don't know when, but we have hope. And Mr. Harp, you often talk about the benefit of joy in working out. Can you talk about the benefits? Just remind us.
See this? There's a smile that just gets on your face. People blind themselves. We all have problems. But when we have that good day, you know how that smile gets put on your face because everything just seems to work out right. Well, that's what happens with your body. What happens with your body when you put a little work into it? You put a little activity into it. Put some good food into it. All right? All of a sudden, your body perks up. And it's like things just align. And there's a happiness in it. There's a joy in it. And a lot of times we'll notice it even more when you lose it. When you get a little injury or you can't move today, oh, my back. You see, that should remind you of the joy that we have. But we're human, you know, we all get comfortable. Okay? And there's a comfort in not doing things. Oh, I don't feel like doing that today. I'll do it tomorrow. And I'll do it tomorrow. Don't worry. Next week, which becomes next year. Yeah, when you finally want to do something, you look down and you say, oh my goodness, I got to go through, it's going to be impossible to take care of this. And then that puts us into a depression. So working out releases those endorphins. It gets your body moving, makes you want to do it again. Oh, it's hard at first. I'm not gonna lie to you. You know, those first couple days, it's gonna be hard because your body needs to get used to it. But once it gets used to it, then your body starts to crave it, starts to ask for it. Like, please, let's do something. Get up, let's do something. You know, you get that little bounce on your toes. You get that looking around the room, like, what can I do? Where can I go? Who can I call? Who can I see? You want to move around. So I say channel it, structure it, put it into something. Get an elastic band. Get a resistant band. And start small. Start at home. When you're ready, come on, move into that gym. Get to that gym, put those headphones on and get into your own little world and get onto that elliptical. Ride that bike. Do a little something. Get that heart pumping. Those weights, they're not intimidating. It shouldn't be.
Right.
No. Ask someone that works there. Show me how this works. If you're new to the game. Move a little something. Once you do that, you get that little burn, and then you start saying, ooh, feel that, ooh, no matter who you are,
Mm-hmm.
you get that little, okay. Start moving your arms around a little bit more. Bend over, touch your toes. Oh, you start feeling little creaks and cracks. And that, however, you're waking your body up. And we're talking that smile on your face. Some of us are early morning people, some of us are afternoon people, some of us like to get it in at night.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you choose, find the pattern that works best for you. Put some of that work in, and put that smile on your face. Stand up a little straighter. People start looking at you like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What are you up to? Something's about you. Something's different about you. And you get that in that little affirmations, those little positive affirmations, and they keep you going.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a journey.
It is.
I speak about this every episode that we get together, but it's a journey. You move around a little bit, and you want to move around a little bit. Oh, sure, you get a little tired, and you'll rest that day off. You get some sleep, put a little food in your system. Next time you do it, your body's going to want to say, okay, remember this? Remember what you just did? If you pulled something down, if you pushed something away, or if you pulled something closer to you, whichever works best. Get in there. And if your gym has a pool, a hot tub, a steam room, hot showers, utilize it. Take some of that stress off. But the only way to do it is to start it.
That's right.
Time that we get together as well, but you can't go to step 2 unless you go to step 1. So you got to make that move.
And that's
losing weight. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
If it's about losing weight, then fine. Let's go ahead and get a program together. If it's about more energy so that you can play with your kids and just have more life energy, cool. Let's go ahead. Let's set a plan for that. If this is about, hey, let me get some more flexibility because my doctor said I need to do something, then let's get a plan. But you have to start. Thank you.
And those are great points, Mr. Harp. You're absolutely right. And it's summer. And so we have done step 1. Talk about how joy helps our brains, because you talk about the biggest muscle in our human body.
Happiness. So the topic of the day is mental health. Mental health. Okay. Now, a lot of us look for answers in all kinds of places.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I am only saying that working out is going to provide you with some physical answers. Now, the endorphins that it releases are still physical.
Mm-hmm.
All this, the smile on your face, these are all physical. Okay. And that in your head, your brain, you can concentrate more. You can focus. Mm-hmm. You can focus for longer. Mm-hmm. It gives you that kind of stamina. Mm-hmm. It's not going to make you smarter. I'm not going to say it's going to make you smarter. Hopefully it'll make you more woke if you're not woke already. But definitely working out will definitely increase your focus factor. You'll be able to concentrate. You'll be able to there's no other word than focus. You'll be able to focus. And it's a beautiful thing. And that joy, I mean, to be able to do that, to be able to enjoy that, to be able to notice, it's a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. The word joy, happiness, that extreme happiness, that utopia of happiness, joy. Mm-hmm. And there is a joy in it. There is definitely a joy in moving, working out, the circulation, and focus, definitely.
Excellent, excellent. And you're correct. You can focus. When I work out, I do. I can move and get tasks done. I feel like I'm more efficient in what I need to do. I don't, sometimes it feels like there's a lag, like my brain is a computer and I'm like, okay, I got all these tabs open. What am I supposed to be doing? But when I work out, you're right. Those endorphins, they move through you, feel better. I'm more intentional in what I need to get done. Last, Mr. Harp, talk about the correlation of joy, endorphins from working out and sleep.
Glad you brought that up.
Thank you.
See, whenever you have that rise, that crescendo, now, and so a steady pace, a routine of working out, you want to definitely incorporate rest. Now, a lot of us are busy. A lot of us have schedules that take us 20 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
It's, unfortunate for those.
Mm-hmm.
Rest is more important than trying to find a workout schedule on top of a work schedule. Mm-hmm. Rest is definitely more important. Your body needs to recover. Your cells need to regenerate. But when you're working out, those cells that you've just now helped to recreate definitely need to rest.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All of the blood flow, all of the heart pumping, all of the work that you just put in, your body now needs to recover. Mm-hmm. But while you're in rest and recover mode is when the muscles grow, is when the definitions come. So when you start seeing those results, the self-esteem, all of the image situations that we have within our own selves, mm-hmm. we start to see improvements. Mm-hmm. We start to see, okay, this thing is working. Mm-hmm. Now we start to believe, we start to trust in the process. And now that gives us a sense of comfort. Now again, sleep. We need to sleep. Mm-hmm. To tackle the next day so we can focus. All of this work. So hopefully you put in enough work that you will get tired. Mm-hmm. You get tired enough where your body wants to go to sleep. Don't overdo it. I never recommend overdoing it. Never for injury or, but for those who have a schedule, if you work out at night, that's fine. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and work out at night, tackle the hours that you need to tackle for your work schedule. Again, I want you to divide your day in equal parts. Okay? So working out should just be included in part of your day. It doesn't need to dominate your day unless you're so inclined to get into that workout game to where it becomes that bigger part of your life. But generally fitness, what we want to do is we just want to incorporate it into it. It's part of our lives anyway. So we want to make it part of our daily lives. Okay. Gyms offer us a place to do it. Okay? Because our daily lives and the way we maneuver through our daily lives, we don't always get up and get out and run. Mm-hmm. Right? Our lives aren't always about walking 3 miles to our destination. So we don't always get physical activity. So gyms provide us with a way to get the necessary physical activity that we need. Many of our jobs are sedentary. We sit mm-hmm. on our chairs and at a computer. Mm-hmm. So we have to go that extra effort, make that extra effort, But to go that extra mile, make that extra effort to get some physical activity. So I hope everyone would, and then rest in order to feel that with that smile.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Hart, for coming on the Kim B. Davis Show and talking about joy and fitness and all our current events. There is so much happening. We could have talked for another 2 hours. Just is so much. But thank you again. We know that next month you'll join us again for another exciting topic. So thank you again for being on the show.
Mrs. Davis, as always, thank you. And to all listeners, I wish you the best. And hopefully we'll find some fitness most important.
Absolutely. Mr. Hart, before we get out of here, tell us how we can find you, where we can reach you, how we can follow you on social media.
Well, I'm on all my pages at Eric Harp, ericharp9@gmail.com. So you can find me directly and email any questions you have.
Thank you again. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you guys for tuning into the Kim B. Davis Show. You know, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, everywhere on social media. And it's Kimberly Batchelor Davis. Batchelor is spelled Batchelor. You can see this show at youtube.com/Kimberly Batchelor Davis. You can hear this show on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google, and Wisdom. You can learn more about me as an author at kimbdavis.com. Thank you again for tuning in. I hope you'll join us on our next episode. And as always, remember, be magnificent.